Hey, how you doing? This is Ed, Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books, and I've been covering Warner Brothers Discovery a lot over these last few months. I've done more than 100 videos on Warner Brothers Discovery, talking about the deals where the companies came together, also talking about David Zaslav, talking about the DCU, talking about Velma, everything to do with Warner Brothers Discovery. And I really was expecting that when David Zaslav said in April of 2022 that he wanted to find his own Kevin Feige-style leader to overhaul DC and make more movies. I thought he'd find somebody because he's David Zaslav. He has a great history of getting the job done when he says he's going to do stuff, which is pretty exciting because Marvel has destroyed superheroes. So hopefully DC will not destroy superheroes. Hopefully they will do good work with them. Because David Zaslav has said often, over the last several years, even before there was any kind of discussion of them acquiring Warner Brothers, David Zaslav has talked about taking care of the fans, delivering for the fans, and how important it is that brands are consistent with what people love and expect. He always said that the fans would tell them what they want and they would deliver it. So that is something to really appreciate. So when he said in April he was going to find himself his own Kevin Feige-style guy, he did. He found Peter Safran, not James Gunn. Peter Safran. He spoke to Peter Safran. He had a good relationship with Peter Safran because together they made hundreds of millions of dollars worth of movies. In fact, the Conjuring universe is a horror universe, and I'm not a big horror fan where I watch every horror movie, but I have seen all the Conjuring universe movies over the last few months to also get more perspective on how these guys do business and what Peter Safran's capable of doing. And I will tell you this, he's capable of doing a lot. This is the most successful horror franchise ever, the Conjuring universe. Fairly well written, it's well directed, it's interesting to watch, and these are low budget movies that make a ton of money. The Conjuring was a $20 million movie that made $320 million. But within The Conjuring was the Annabelle character that also then got launched out, a la The Universe, into its own film. They've made 3 films so far. They're making the 4th Annabelle film. But they also had in The Conjuring 2, The Nun came up. This is a demonic character. Their biggest movie so far, actually, $365 million worldwide on a $22 million budget. These guys know how to make movies. So Peter Safran was brought on. Peter Safran said, hey, I got to get my boy James Gunn involved in this because he knows DC Comics, he understands the content, and he's going to be able to come up with some quirky takes on things and make good comic book content. So let me get James Gunn involved, and you've got a deal, Zaslav. So they made a deal. James Gunn came along. He had already been working on a couple of DC projects, and between November and now it's the end of January, it's a few months. Although James Gunn had ideas for DC before this, they've been able to put together a slate of 10 projects and they've announced them. And this is coming from Bounding Into Comics. Let's go over this slate. Before we do, please be sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. James Gunn and Peter Safran reveal their slate for DC Studios, including new Batman and already announced Superman film. And these are 10 projects. It's quite a lot of projects, and it's not all the projects. It's the ones they're willing to announce right now. DC Studios CEO James Gunn and Peter Safran revealed their upcoming slate for DC, and it includes a brand new Batman as well as previously announced Superman film. The slate was revealed in a lengthy expose by Borys Kit at The Hollywood Reporter alongside a video released by Gunn. In the video, Gunn claims his vision for DC moving forward is to make sure it's all connected. This is continuity. Very important for a universe. If you know the Conjuring films, you know that they have a pretty good continuity. The timeline is maintained. They leverage a lot of their characters that appear in more than one of the films. It's really very well done. And it's interesting that they got Safran involved in this. If you didn't have Peter Safran, if you didn't have James Gunn, you really couldn't do this. You'd need to find someone else that has some kind of a history for this. And they don't do it in comics anymore, so I don't know who else you could find. He explained, it's one of our jobs, mine and Peter's, to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And continued, and if something outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman, or Todd Phillips' Joker, or Teen Titans Go, that is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds outside of the mainstream DCU continuity. Gunn then went on to explain how DC's upcoming film releases, specifically with Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and Flash, tie us into this vision. He detailed, first, we have Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been often kind of its own part of DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love, that resets the entire DC universe. And then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who is a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, he stated. Whether or not these characters and actors continue on in Gunn's DCU vision is still unclear. There's nothing that prohibits that from happening. Next, Gunn revealed the first chapter of his DCU vision called Gods and Monsters and began to reveal the slate, which he said is part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. Interestingly, in the expose from The Hollywood Reporter, Gunn and Safran also expanded on their vision for DC, with Gunn explaining, one of our strategies is to take our diamond characters, which is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and we use them to prop up other characters that people don't know. Safran added to build those lesser-known properties into the diamond properties of tomorrow. Well, that is a universe. You do that with a universe because people are interested in seeing the entire larger story. Creature Commandos. However, the timeline of the slate seems to indicate that this is not really the strategy at all, as it begins with a rather obscure animated series called Creature Commandos. I'm going to agree with bounding into comics here. This Creature Commandos is really strange. Clearly, this is something that Gunn was working on with them for quite a while. And perhaps the background monster-y story or whatever it is that they're doing is part of the overall story for the universe that they're doing, and that's fine, but this is a strange way to go ahead and launch a universe. This animated series will be 7 episodes in length and is being written by Gunn and is reportedly already in production. Kit describes the show. Originally a team of classic monsters assembled to fight Nazis, this is a modern take on the concept. Gunn didn't really provide any details on the series in the video, but he noted, something that we're going to do that's a little bit different than DC is that we're going to have the characters move out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice who plays them in live action. That's a great thing to do, like they did with Peacemaker, with John Cena. If you can get a guy who's willing to do the TV, and then you can get him to do film and animation, do voices, who doesn't want continuity like that? Why wouldn't you not want to do something like that? Also, you get the people cheap if they're willing to do TV, and you can get them more cheaply when they're ready to do film, and budget always matters. Waller. Next up on the slate is a series called Waller, Gunn explains. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker. This is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created Doom Patrol TV series he added. Safran revealed the series takes place between the first and second seasons of Peacemaker. Superman Legacy. Gunn then moved on to what he's calling the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. He added, I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it, and Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. While Gunn punted on whether he will direct the film, Safran says he hopes Gunn will. We're hoping that he will direct it. It's not an origin story. It focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. Superman represents truth, justice, and the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks of kindness as old-fashioned. And you can't take away from Safran that he says that Superman represents truth, justice, and the American way. All right, this is not what some people wanted for Superman, and it's obviously not what they wanted in the comics recently for Superman. That is an excellent sign that they do understand the properties. It doesn't mean they aren't going to do odd, quirky things with some of the characters, particularly Supergirl. Truth, Justice, American Way. I mean, what else do you want? Lanterns. Gunn then revealed an HBO TV series following Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart titled Lanterns. He detailed, this is the story of a couple of Green Lanterns, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detectives, with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over the precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. The Authority. Again, contradicting the idea of using diamond properties to launch the DCU, Gunn revealed their second film will be The Authority. Gunn revealed The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we're now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superhero. Paradise Lost. Gunn then jumped into a live-action TV series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. He then teased it's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The Brave and the Bold. The third film will see the introduction of the DCU's Batman, which is a separate Batman from Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's vision. Gunn notes, The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line. So this is a story of two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU. Booster Gold. Booster Gold was announced as a new live-action TV series with Gunn saying Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He's a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so people will love him. It's basically the superhero story of Imposter Story, on an HBO Max series he had. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Gunn then revealed that Tom King's Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow series was one of his favorite comic books from last year, and that it'll be turned into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she's a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way, so she's much more of a jaded character. Finally, Gunn announced Swamp Thing, describing the film as a very dark horror story and the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside the rest of the DCU, it still feeds into the rest of the stories he added. Well, this is the essential rundown of their 10 projects. My take overall is that David Zaslav did an excellent job of finding his own Kevin Feige-style leadership. This is not the new Kevin Feige that everyone is tired of. This is the original Kevin Feige take of, look, it's the Marvel Universe. It's honoring what creators did. I think they tried to do that as much as possible. Comics lately at DC have not been what they used to be, so they have the material to draw on that they have. But at least with James Gunn and Peter Safran's experience with the Conjuring universe, you can't really get a better potential to be able to have a decent universe of properties and stories. Now, there are aspects to this that people are concerned about. I'd love to see what your comments are on this in the comments below. Let me know, do you think that David Zaslav did what he said he was going to do? Find his own Kevin Feige-style leader? Does any of this stuff sound like it's going to be bad to you? I don't know. I will say that the whole thing structurally of interrelating all the stories really makes it difficult to introduce all the inclusion stuff that Marvel did, destroying essentially their entire universe, not taking characters to be inclusive and working them into the overall story. That is probably what you will see with the DCU, honestly. They will probably have this character who's like this and like that and has this inclusion purpose to them being incorporated into the overall story. But the overall story is going to make sense. It's not going to be like Marvel, where they keep changing things to shoehorn in ridiculous elements at the expense of a massive amount of storytelling and investment in the characters and the properties. So let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Please be sure you're subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.